testament of life.
Life is like a puzzle, where each piece is part of a great mosaic that depicts the blessed of Estolia. The ramifications of each piece of the puzzle, however, often are not ironed out until one or two more capitulos have passed behind. Xavier Archimedes Zakarian, Capitulo 86.
The face that peered around the door was slender and long, framed by dark eyes and hair. The young woman who stepped into the room was tall, almost as tall as Benzeric, and painfully slender. Her thick hair rioted in curls. Kat was sure that with a few changes to her hairstyle and an extra 20 pounds, she could be quite pretty.
Dad said I should remind you that your time is up,
she said, looking a bit uncertain, as if not sure whether to leave or stay.
Have you met Kat?
Ben asked. The young woman shook her head.
Well then, I should like to make the introductions.
He smiled at Kat.
Ekaterina Zomel, may I present my cousin Emerald Amethyst Zakarian. Emerald, this is Kat.
Emerald amethyst, a beautiful soul.
Emerald stepped forward and embraced Kat, an unexpectedly earnest gesture that made Kat feel smaller still, her cheek brushing against the taller woman's shoulder. When Emerald stepped back, she offered a smile meant for both of them, warm, if a bit uncertain, and Kat saw in it the promise of future beauty, the kind that would grow into its own stunning potential over time.
What do you say, Kat?
Ben asked, his voice quiet but insistent, the question lingering like a breath between them. Looking at the slender young woman, angular and awkward, Kat felt a surge of courage rising in her, the courage to marry Benzeric Zakarian. She followed that inner leap with the merest nod of her head, just enough to make his eyes widen and satisfaction transform his features.
I will show you down to the breakfast room,
he said. While Kat followed Ben and Emerald down from the North Tower suite, she marveled at the architecture, the extraordinary antiques, and the beautiful ambience of the palace. After a lengthy hike through myriad hallways and several staircases, they arrived at the breakfast room. It would be nearly impossible to find her way back to her room without help. Zeke was in the breakfast room, along with the king and queen. Little Tiernan was not in evidence. A young girl with carrot-colored curls and large green eyes, perhaps 10 or 11 years old, was in the breakfast room.
This is my youngest child, Miracle. Miracle, this is Ekaterina Zomel,
Zeke said, adding after a glance at Ben,
she is going to marry your cousin Benzeric.
Miracle jumped to her feet, and without the slightest inhibition, she lurched forward and embraced Kat.
I am so glad,
she said. After they sat down, Zeke turned his attention to the young girl, asking her,
What makes you so glad, Miracle?
A wide smile spread across her face, and she glanced from Kat to Ben and back again.
Deity truly loves us.
That non sequitur elicited no comment.
They will not.
Miracle began impulsively, her voice louder than necessary in the breakfast room. After a slight quelling motion by her father, she lowered her voice and said,
They will never find you here, you know.
Who will not?
Ben asked. Miracle looked from Ben to her and back again before answering,
The men in Kentucky.
Kat stared at the young girl, wondering how she could possibly know about the men in Kentucky she was hiding from, that she did not wish to tangle with. She glanced at Zeke. He seemed quite old to have such a young daughter.
Miracle was a late addition to our family,
he explained, somehow sensing what she was thinking. He smiled down at his pixie-like daughter.
She is one of the most spiritual individuals in Estolia. She is the child most like me.
But I am a girl,
she said into the silence.
so I cannot be the keeper.
Kat looked at the precocious girl and said softly,
I'm sorry, Miracle.
That brought an unladylike guffaw from the young girl.
Like it matters to me. Being keeper is a lot of work. Instead, I am going to marry a prince.
Kat looked at Zeke, wondering how he was taking that proclamation. He was staring at his daughter.
A prince?
He queried. She nodded.
Deity told me last week. A dear. I dreamed it was true.
Kat looked at Ben, who shrugged, and then at Zeke, who was looking at his daughter with a strange expression that encompassed a mixture of exasperation and pride. The young girl looked from her father to Kat and said,
You cannot do it.
Her emotions were obviously swinging wildly. Her earlier proud statement about who she would marry had dissolved into obvious distress.
Do what?
Zeke asked.
Marry Ben on a trial basis.
She looked at her father.
She has to promise that it is forever.
She was suddenly crying.
You cannot be mean to Ben, please.
She pled. Kat was at a loss as to how she should respond. Zeke responded for her, looking at his daughter. He said,
Do you really think I would allow harm to come to Ben?
Of course not, Dad. But Ben needs to know.
Deity communicates to more than you, young lady.
Zeke said with a note of warning in his voice. She looked strangely cowed. In moments she was grinning at Kat and said pertly,
I am glad you are going to marry Ben. He is one of my favorite people.
Her mercurial mood swing still in evidence. Zeke glanced at Kat and said,
I beg forgiveness for speaking in Estolian.
He turned and directed a long-winded spate of foreign dialogue at his daughter. The two spoke for several minutes before the young girl leaped to her feet and rounded the table to where Kat was sitting. That was when Kat noticed that the young girl had issues with coordination. She walked in a strange way, as if her legs were not quite matched with each other.
May I hold your hands for a moment?
She asked with charm. Kat extended both hands to the young girl and waited to see what would happen. Miracle took them and then closed her eyes, as if communing with unseen spirits. When her eyes opened, she seemed subdued. After a couple of moments passed, she looked to her father.
I see now, Papa, what you meant to tell me.
Turning to look at Kat, she said to her,
Ben is everything you want, everything you need. Promise to stay with him unless you discover you hate him.
Of course.
Kat said, not even realizing what she was promising, until after the young girl beamed a smile and then lurched clumsily out of the breakfast room. Kat turned from her appraisal of the door that Miracle departed through to look at the two men, and from them to the king and queen who had watched the entire drama silently.
There goes one extraordinary person,
she whispered, touched by the strange mixture of wisdom beyond the girl's age, naivete and overpowering effervescence. Zeke nodded, a small smile playing about his mouth.
My daughter Miracle was a late addition. My wife had a difficult pregnancy, and it seemed likely she would lose the baby. The doctors said that it would be a miracle if she carried the babe to term. I realized that my wife and I would be blessed with a true miracle. Deity has something special in store for her.
So, you have decided to marry Ben?
Cailey joined the conversation to ask. Kat nodded again, feeling as if momentum was taking hold of her.
I promised young Miracle I would stay with him unless I somehow ended up hating him.
She turned to look at Ben's gorgeous aqua eyes and said,
Which seems highly unlikely.
His expression was warm as he looked at her.
Excellent,
Leon said.
As there is no call for the royal seclusion suite, I shall ask that it be readied.
I already have, actually,
Zeke said. He grinned and added,
The luxury available in the seclusion suite is one of our secret weapons in getting those from outside to never want to leave.
Romance and rescues, religion and royalty, family comes first. Clumsy yet cute, she thrives as she strives to overcome obstacles. She's spiritually keen.